Welcome back to Creep It Weird, everyone. I am Miss Natty, and this is
Miss Liz.
Miss List the Monster. Oh my God, if you do not have the video tier, go check it out. We are doing a whole episode. Hopefully, I don't know. We'll see if she roasts in this thing. It is so stinking cute. She's got this awesome costume. For anybody who's not watching, just so that you're aware, behind me, I have my EMF reader on, and I have a cat ball going right behind me. I'm limited on space, but it is almost the twins' birthday, and we usually have a lot of activity. And I have my spirit box on. So we might have some additions to this week's episode. They were very chatty till I hit play, and now they're toning down.
If I put mine on, that's too much, right?
You can put it on. Why
I
not?
have to re-download it.
We can do both of them the next time. We can just have one going this time if you want to download that. We're just going to hop on in. It's a natty-sode this week, and I'm pretty pumped. Oh my gosh, it literally just goes, keep recording. All right, so we're going to keep recording. We've got directions. Just to let everything else know in here.
The ghosts have spoken.
The ghosts have spoken. Let's turn this up just a little bit so I can make sure that I hear it. I want to open one ear. It's here. Okay, so it's here. We're going. It wants me to keep recording. For anything that's in here, if you have any communication that you want to do, just hit this little spirit ball box or this little spirit ball back here. Our little cat ball light up. If you want to communicate with us, do that. In case we have any new visitors, I just want to make sure that they know how this works. But
I put this suit on to be funny, and it's like calming my anxiety, weirdly.
It is very good. So I wear my onesies whenever I get anxious.
I was just looking for a laugh.
Do you look like a Sesame Street character?
The ones that go.
Yeah, so let's go ahead and just dive in. Located just off the east coast of Portsmouth is the Isle of Wight. This island is filled with resort towns sprinkled with animal sanctuaries, a dinosaur museum, various lighthouses, and even a national poop museum. Woo! Gotta love poop museum. Curious as to what's in the poop museum. I will never make it over there to see it, probably. If you guys are listening and you've been to the National Poop Museum, please let us know what's in there. I'm wondering, like, is it different animal scat? Is it like, how do they break it down? Do they tell you what's in it? How to identify it? I mean, what is the poop museum? Is it like the world's largest poop?
Ancient relics of poop.
Yeah, ancient. This dude shit 2000 BC.
And this is a white dog poop?
Yeah, this is a white dog poop that had too much protein in his diet. Either way, on the eastern edge of the isle, there is a slight curvature. Midway along that curve contains the town of Sandown. I'm so excited to do this one.
I turned mine on and it said, how? How?
I don't know how it works. It just works. Amongst the locals was a man that is referred to as Mr. Y. In October of, oh my gosh, that is so funny. I had a typo. It says, mine says in 10,970, but it's supposed to be in 1970. So in 1970, this gentleman witnessed a radiantly red spheres blasting through the otherwise quiet night. I'm behind you. Okay, that's okay. You can hang out. Between Shanklin and Ryde, the glowing lights kept pace with the vehicle along the
said friend.
Aw, thanks. Otherwise, we can't say. They really are chatty. We might have to have a little pause. Otherwise, quiet night while driving between Shanklin and Ryde. The glowing lights seemed to keep pace with the vehicle along the stretch of road, even with the changes of speeds. A few months down the road, Mr. Y was no doubt on his way to recouping from the fury flying lights visiting him, and he found himself smack dab in the middle of yet another astonishing anomaly. While down at Compton Bay one day, there was a massive and unusual incoming tide that had him pinned to a rocky outdrop. During this encounter, Mr. Y insists that he witnessed yellow glowing lights coming from within the roaring tides. These two encounters are not relevant necessarily to what we are talking about, but I wanted to make sure that I put them in there because Mr. Y is prevalent in this encounter. Because Mr. Y's daughter is who we're going to be dealing with next. Again, Mr. Y is the father of a young daughter named Faye, who came face to inhuman face with who, or what is referred to as Sam the Sandown Clown, according to the British UFO Research Association, or BUFORA, journal. I wanted to throw that out there because a lot of people talk about Sam the Sandown Clown, but they don't factor in that her father witnessed alien activity prior to this event. So he had UFO encounters previously. So there's a lot of questions that we'll get to at the end about what exactly is Sam. We don't know what Sam is.
That if it was an alien, that is a pretty prevalent thing that other family members, like immediate
Mhm.
family members, are also usually contacted.
Exactly. And that's why I wanted to make sure that I included his encounters that he had. So he had these red lights that were flying around these little spheres, and then he had the yellow spheres. I know you don't understand, but it's okay. Just keep with us here. Now, on the typical Tuesday afternoon of 1973, at approximately 4 p.m., two children, again, Faye, reported as either 7 or 10 years old, and an unnamed boy about her age were adventuring around the surrounding area of Lake Common. Suddenly, the children heard a weird wailing noise. So that's quote, weird wailing noise, similar to an ambulance siren whipping through the woods. The curious kiddos followed the strange sounds as far as they could. Going through a golf course, they hopped a hedge and stumbled into a swampy meadow located adjacent to the local airfield. As they approached a weathered wooden bridge, the blaring siren ceased and an ambient atmosphere of forest retook acoustic control. From under the bridge, a three-finger hand-like appendage appeared, donning a brilliant blue glove. And that's just creepy as shit. I'm sorry, but
It
if
really is.
I was going to cross a bridge and all of a sudden you just slap down this hand, I don't know what I would do. And these
That's
are
some it
children.
shit.
Yeah, like, come here, little kids. And it is. It's two children here. With a loud thump, the hand slapped down on the bridge and heaved the remainder of the body up in front of the children. The sight before them was something that they would never forget. There it stood, 7 feet tall, which is approximately 2 meters, in case anybody's curious. Its ghostly white spherical head gazed with geometric characteristics. The two triangular markings at the eye sockets looked right at the children. This is failure. I know I'm stumbling. It's calling me out. It's good. I'm getting called out. Below the three-sided peepers was a brown square-shaped nose. Under this was an unnerving, immobile yellow mouth. With his legs and arms appeared to be made of wooden planks positioned under an emerald tunic. But along with the tunic, he wore white breeches and again, those blue gloves. Okay, you just push it. That's how you use it. Sorry, they're asking me how they use stuff. You just touch it. Anyway, so topping this ensemble was a yellow pointed hat, and emerging from above the hat were two antenna like structures. And below the hat, you could see red locks peeking out from underneath. I didn't see any pictures or any renditions where the hair was long, but it was enough that it just curled out, kind of a weird geometric Pinocchio. Like Pinocchio meets clown is what I'm getting.
With some weird ass bug antenna
Yeah,
coming
with
out of
little
him.
antennae. And on each of its feet were only three toes. I thought that was interesting. So we have three fingers and three toes. That is also very interesting to me. And a lot of times, things that have either four fingers and a thumb or three fingers and a thumb, like The Simpsons, stuff like that. Even if you have puppets, they generally still have four digits.
And it's weird he has clothes over everything, even his hands, but not his feet.
But he doesn't his feet and his arms and legs. So he's got, it looks like he's got white shorts and the green tunic, but I don't remember them saying anything about a shirt.
I think he's barefoot, is what they said.
Yeah. I'm just wondering if he's got a shirt on because it mentions the shorts and the tunic, unless a tunic is also a shirt. Is it a shirt? Or is it like a cape?
I'm assuming because he has those slats coming out of the sleeves. So I'm
Yeah.
assuming he has a shirt on.
Okay. So we'll go with I just didn't know because sometimes you see him with like a little cape thing on. Either way, he looks like
Yeah.
a clown meets Pinocchio. The being fumbled with a book like item in his attempt to steady his footing. The children stood in bewilderment as the clumsy creature's book bounded into the stream. In an attempt to attain his lost item, the being jumped in, flailing as it struggled to reach it in time. The creature started splashing and making a spectacle before finally picking the book up, and I am dying at this image in my head. Can you just imagine this like Pinocchio thing just like flopping around in this creek? Crick, for those of you who are from where I'm from.
I wouldn't even know what to think because, like, it's almost like I think Alice in Wonderland. It's comical, but then you have the clown aspect, which is like eek on that end. I
Well,
don't
it
even know if I was
depends.
encountered that, if I'd
These
be afraid or intrigued or what.
these are children in the 70s. So this is pre creepy clown, right? Kids loved clowns during this time frame. Everybody had a clown at the birthday party.
Why?
This is pre
Why?
Gacy. No, I cannot see you, honey. You're going to have to use the lights. Then, in a rabbit like fashion, the creature maneuvered towards what appeared to be a metallic hut with no windows that definitely was built by hand. The children then carried on about 50 yards, and the being suddenly reappeared along with the mysterious, oh my gosh, ambulance wailing. This time, in addition to the book, he was carrying a black microphone. God, did I do good on that one? I was trying really hard to cover up the how I said that word.
I didn't hear
Okay,
microphone. It
good.
sounded like microphone.
Microphone. Okay. I've been practicing. You have no idea how many times I practiced that word before we started. Okay. But they also said that it had a white cord attached to it, which I thought was interesting because you don't usually see that. And I don't know where it plugged into or where it came from, but either way, it's just a very strange encounter already. Faye and the boy stared in utter
Yeah.
confusion when the siren stopped and a voice came over the mic. Hello? Are you still there? I'm just dying. Can you imagine? I just am like, this is so creepy. The curious creature retrieved its notebook once again and scribbled a bunch of words. As he pointed to each word, they were written out of order, but Faye read it, and the sequence he pointed in the message said again, quote, hello, and I am all colors Sam. I just, and at this point, you don't know what it is. Sam could be a girl's name, it could be a boy's name. You don't know.
Yeah.
So we're not exactly sure. At some points, I refer to it as he. Some points, I refer to it as it, because a lot of people do refer to Sam, the Sandown Clown, as a boy. It's going to be interchangeable there. I apologize. There is nothing exactly that says yay or nay. You'll actually find out later on that it is not. It is in fact not a man, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it is not male. So then it spoke, but the way it talked was like someone who had been a bad ventriloquist, and it kept its lips shut while it spoke. It's not moving its mouth, but you'll find out later that its mouth can indeed move. But when it speaks, it's coming through the mic, and it's not moving its face at all, which is really, to me, that just adds the creep factor. We asked some kids some
Hmm.
questions about themselves, and they asked him some, like, why are your clothes ripped? And he explained to them that he only had one outfit. The kids asked the creature if it was a man, to which it chuckled and said no. So then they asked if he was a ghost, which is a weird jump to conclusions there. And it responded with, not really, but I am in an odd sort of way. So I want to stop there for a second and ask you, it's, they're going strange. So they are also thinking that it is strange. What are your thoughts so far as to its description and what it might be? I just want to take a pause here because we're getting a pretty good description here as far as what it is or is not.
It's so freaking vague and seemingly trying to put on a show to me.
I mean, it specifically says I'm not a man, but again, it doesn't say it's not male, it's not female. It just says I am not a man. Therefore, I'm guessing not human.
Hmm.
And then, it's a ghost, and it says, no, not really, but I am in an odd sort of way. That is very confusing to me. I don't know. I have some ideas that we will get to at the end of what I think it could be.
I think we're going to have very different ideas on what it
Probably.
is.
I've got two different ideas on what it is, and I guarantee you it's going to be different than yours, either one. So Faye and the boy then asked exactly what it is, to which it only responded with, you know.
That clears it up. Thank you.
I know, right? Even though he already said it was Sam, he also said he actually has no name. So my assumption is he doesn't have a name. He was just giving something to the children to identify him as, would be my guess. Okay, we're talking about my other half now. He's not here.
What a random name to pick out of a hat, though. If it was
Exactly.
like an alien or something, it just caught a news broadcast. It was like Sam. Yeah, I'll go with that one.
But I'm wondering how much thought went into it because, again, Sam could be male, it could be female. There's really no identification to it. It's just a label. How many people were named Samuel, Samantha, Samson? I don't know how many people had those names or how popular they were back in the 70s, but I would imagine they're pretty popular today. So if you're named after your family members, odds are there were a lot of Sams hanging around back then.
I had a Sam in my family. My cat was Samuel Whiskers.
Is if you should have added an L, Samuel L. Whiskers.
He did have a middle initial that was Samuel. Was it J? I think.
I was
I
gonna say Jay's
forget
a
the
good
kid.
one. Samuel
I
J.
think it
Whiskers.
was,
That's
but we
awesome.
called him Sam. Yeah.
See, exactly. According to the being, there were others like him as well, but it didn't get into how many or where they're from or anything like that. The conversation lasted about 30 minutes and gave the kids a better idea of how the being lived, and details such as the fact that its diet consisted of berries that it found in the woods each evening, and it stayed hydrated by drinking water that was clean from the river. In this book, he drew a sketch of the kids as well. Okay, I know who's. I'm like, I know who's here. Hi guys. Sam told the kids that he was frightened of people and scared that they might hurt him, but he also added the fact that if he were attacked, he would fight back, which to me, I'm not really sure why you would say that to children. I feel like that's very threatening.
Wait, I think he said he wouldn't fight back.
Oh yeah, he would not fight back. I apologize.
I was very curious. How does he clean the water? What is that process?
Yeah, I didn't see anything. We'll go into the house here in a minute, but I didn't see anything where it mentioned how it was cleaned, if there's any machinery to clean it. Heck, for all I know, you have that survival guy who would clean water in the
Oh,
desert with a sock,
yeah.
but this guy doesn't
Oh
have any
my gosh, I
socks.
can't think of his name right now. Or maybe that's why.
Yeah, it's gross. I can't watch those. They're so disgusting.
I
There's
can't
a
think of the
filtration.
guy's name. I had to get my kid one of his knives.
My thing too, we have the water. If this thing is made of wood, in fact, made of wood, it would not be jumping into the water. It'd be waterlogged. It'd be moldy. It'd be falling apart. Water would not be good for this thing, but it is not avoiding it at all. So I'm wondering if it just looked like planks and it was not, in fact, wood. Otherwise, there'd be waterlogging and swelling and cracking, and it would just fall apart.
But the way it was just sticking out, it sounds almost like not a splint, but somewhat,
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Just keeping it straight.
yeah, like a Pinocchio, kind of pre-boy Pinocchio. Now then, Sam invited the kids to the metal hut, to which they obliged. So much for stranger danger. Again, this is the 70s. They crawled through a flap in the side of the windowless hut to gain entry to the abode. Cheerful. Okay, I guess they're cheerful. The first level had a high ceiling and walls coated with blue and green wallpaper with patterns of dials. Now, I will say this though, I mentioned we did not have machinery. It says patterns of dials. I do not know if these are flat dials up on the wall or if they are in fact dials for things inside this home.
I
If
read
they
that
are
same thing and I thought the same exact thing.
if
I
they
was
are
curious.
dials, there very
Yeah.
well could be some kind of machinery in here that he is running. If this hut is right by the water, everybody uses the water for all kinds of things. He could use it for power. He could use it for drinking, cooking, whatever the case may be. These dials could come into effect. It also had simple wooden furniture and an electric heater, which I also found interesting because if you are nothing but a wooden little guy, you are not going to require heat.
Yeah,
Just
and where are you plugging it to?
again, what if he uses water power? Is this rational? It's rational. He told the kids that he had another place to stay in the mainlands, but did not tell them where. They also had a second level that was a little smaller with a metal floor. So when you first walk in, you got big ceilings. I'm thinking that the second floor is maybe a loft area. I don't know if they're giving a whole
Mhm.
grand tour or if they can just see from this main floor that the ceilings are high and there's a second floor second story with a metal floor. It's still a little iffy. There's a lot of details that could put a little more perspective into it, but that's my picture is you walk in, it's this huge open concept of a ceiling or whatever, and there's a loft area on the second floor that you're able to see that metal floor. It doesn't also mention stairs. So that's the other thing I thought was I guess you could assume they're stairs, but we don't know. Were they wooden stairs? Were they spiral stairs? Were they, maybe he had one of those fireman poles, or we don't know. I don't know. Maybe he could jump to
I
the second floor or teleport. I have no idea.
I pictured in my head when I read the article a ladder. But now that you're saying a fireman's pole, now that's what I'm
I know.
picturing.
Isn't that awesome? I'm thinking like, but didn't, how would you get up? But a ladder would make sense. It doesn't mention any sort of method to get to the second floor. So just use your imaginations because we don't have that tidbit of information. But again, during the conversation, Sam did something that they were not expecting. Now I cannot hear him. Again, you're going to have to use the ball. We're talking to here.
Cat
We like
balls.
you. Oh, I like you too. Sam did something that they were not expecting. He proceeded to remove his hat, took a berry out, put it in his ear of all places. Then he maneuvered his head around in such a way that the berry disappeared and reappeared in his eye. So he's jiggling around and the berry pops into his eye. Then he wobbles his head around again, berry disappears and comes out to its mouth. The mouth can open. So I don't know why he's not using it to talk unless it's, see, that's the thing too. Is he using the microphone or is he communicating telepathically and he's just holding it?
Ooh, that's interesting. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, so that's something that his mouth does move though. So the berry pops open. So he's just doing this trick. And I thought that was interesting. They stayed a while, like about a half hour or so more, just chatting with him. And then they left. As they crossed the golf course heading home, they ran into a man and told him that they had seen a ghost, and the man laughed at them. So Faye then, 3 weeks later, because the first person they told laughed at them, she waited 3 weeks before she told her dad about the young boy's story and hers that she had encountered. So Faye's father did end up visiting the site where they said the hut was, but there was no trace. After he gets done talking to the children, he leaves and is never seen again. This encounter presented in Norman Oliver in the 1978 BU Bufora, Volume 6, Number 5, and it stands for, again, British UFO Research Association. And the investigations they have, it was under UFO investigations. Hint, hint. So there was also an article in Report Extra, Ghost or Spaceman 73, and Children's Experience with the Father's Mister's Wives. All these links that I use are going to be in the description as well, so you can feel free to go in there. One of the sites has the description of him and details. They've got photos of him. I'll try to post the photos on social media as well. And I did want to make sure that we have, she goes to tell her father, and this is a quote that he seems to say about the experience. It says, quote, I get the impression that Faye was somehow taken into a bubble of alien reality created by strange personage. Anyway, he told him he was made, or that he just
A
made the
weird
hut.
jump.
Yeah, sorry. So he goes in the bubble of alien thing. He told him that he just made the hut. Also, Faye told me while they were talking to this quote unquote ghost, two workmen nearby were repairing a post. They said no, they paid no attention to the weird charade as though they could not see it. That is what her father said. So he 100% is seeming like he is on board, which again, with these two encounters that he had previously, I feel that would go. So are we talking, where were there any Men in Black scenarios? Are we talking creepy old dude? Are we talking alien, ghost? My theory, are we talking Faye? The Faye?
Ooh,
Ironically, shared delusion, but to me, there's no way that you would have two children sharing the same delusion that is this ornate.
but they're so young. And if there was something traumatic, you could feed off each other. And memories are funny how they can be influenced and pretty much made
True.
up.
I just really struggle with the hysteria of two identical encounters.
But they're young kids. If you went with somebody and you were, what were they, 7 to 10, and you guys were like, oh, we saw this, and you keep hearing the story being told over and over, back and forth, it's going to somewhat warp your reality because you're already in a really imaginative age. where you're playing make believe a lot. You know what I mean? You can be like, oh, remember at the castle there was a wicked witch at the top, and they're just talking about one of the
Yeah.
kids sitting on a hill.
Yeah, I feel like there's too many details though. If it was vague, then I would be more on board with maybe they were making it up. But there's a lot of details and a lot of activity that this thing is doing to account for maybe it is a creature of some kind.
I think the guy in the golf course was a complete dick that the kids went up to, and they're like, we just
Yeah.
saw a ghost. Not, hey, you guys okay? Did you encounter something? You know what I mean? Not even thinking spectrally. It could just be a person dangerous that they encountered, and the guy just laughed at him. Like, what an
Nice.
asshole.
Yeah, it's the 70s. Nowadays, people would probably be like, hold on, show me where it's at. I want to make sure we don't have a creeper in the woods.
Yeah,
I
and
feel.
you're not going to like that, but that's what I lean towards, that Sam is just a homeless man that's dressed up like a pre-John Wayne Gacy in the
Hey,
woods, a freaking
there's no
creep.
way.
How? He could have a mask. He could have thrown the berry in behind the mask and just shaken it like a magic trick.
I just, with the movement, I feel like they would know if it was a person. When I'm picturing his movement, it is marionette, kind of like bouncy. I don't want to say majestic, that's not the word I'm looking for, but very not mystical, but
Performative, like just very bouncy. Yeah, but you can practice that and you can do that. Performers do crazy dances, and
why would he come out from under a bridge?
because he's a homeless man, he found a metal hut to live in for a little bit, and maybe the workers came back and moved it because it was part of a construction job. And now he's on to the next to be a creep in another forest.
And then the hut disappears. All traces of Sam disappear whenever they go back to look.
So maybe it was one of those pop-up, like when you're doing some kind of construction nearby, you put
But
a
it's made of
temporary
metal.
trailer. The trailers are put around all over the place when there's construction going
But
on.
but this is a hut, not a trailer. I'm thinking this
Those can be
rickety
lifted up
ass
just
like
as
tin
easy.
man. It doesn't explain the roof, but it's got to be pretty big if they're saying it's got tall ceilings. But then again, they're 7 and 10, so tall
They're
ceilings could have been
kids.
like nine
Yeah.
foot. But still, a 9 foot hut right next. And he's explaining, I eat berries, I drink water, I filter it out, all of that
He's
stuff.
he's a crazy
They,
old man living in the forest.
so
And
I,
hopefully he didn't do something to the kids,
they never mentioned. There's no physical contact mentioned.
which again, the shared delusion could have been off of that.
Sorry for those of you who did not have the video. There was an inserted eye roll there.
I
I don't know if you could have seen it with your little
told you.
outfit on. This is
We're
awesome. This
gonna have
outfit is great.
very different opinions. Oh my
I'm
gosh, I love
thinking
it.
it very easily could be Fae. Fae or Alien are my two. Those are my two goes. It does have a very mystical type, like playful kid. It's in the woods, in the secluded area. It's next to like the swampy space. It's a hut-like thing. It's not a mansion in the woods. It's not a log cabin. It's doing these little tricks with its head. It's speaking without moving its mouth. So I'm thinking
Which
alien-esque or
again,
Fae. Fae, I'm leaning more
man
towards Fae.
speaking without moving his mouth because he's the man behind the mask
Why would he not use his mouth? That's what she
to
said.
make him seem more clown-like.
I just, and there is no account of Men in Black showing up afterwards. And that would be my thing that leads me more towards Fae than Alien. But the correlation between these flashing lights nearby and then having Sam show up, to me, there's just, you can't deny that factor. It is very odd.
Yeah,
I mean,
but he did everything to keep anonymous as well on his part, the
I
father.
just, yeah, but it's the 70s. You don't want to be a crackpot. Back then, I mean, we in the 60s and 70s, there was all kinds of UFO things being reported, and everybody was being discredited and being made fun of and all this stuff. So I can understand him not wanting to put his name out there. We don't know what his job was. Maybe he was a police officer. Maybe he was somebody of some high regard that he didn't want to lose his ranking because everybody thought he was a crazy loon, like cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs.
Yeah, no, I was saying maybe the Men in Black didn't find him because he didn't really disclose who he
Oh,
was.
we all know if there's an alien involved, Men in Black is going to find you. That's part of their gig. We are going to have to agree to disagree. You think it's a creepy old man. I think I'm leaning more towards Faye. I don't know what you guys think. Let us know what you think. We've got different options. What would you do in this scenario? Would you, if your child came to you and said, "Hey, I saw this thing in the woods. Here's where it's at. I could take you to it." Would you go investigate? I would.
Yep, I'd go and bring something with me and go and investigate.
I would bring a weapon. Let's just be honest. I would bring a weapon, but I'm known for my weaponry. But yeah, I would go check it out. And do you have any other thoughts, ideas, anything like that for Sam?
No, if it's not a creepy old man, it does sound more UFO because he's trying to be human, but he doesn't know how. And that seems to be the case in a lot of like alien stories.
Yes.
Like it makes me think almost of like black-eyed children. Can I have ketchup for my apple? He doesn't quite know what he's supposed to do. You're almost there, bud. You
Well, that's the
almost
thing.
got it. And
It's living off
he
the
probably
land.
just he probably
It's
saw an episode of Pinocchio and he was like, "Yep, that's how you
oh
act."
my.
Okay, got it.
If you think about it, if it's wanting to portray, again, this could be a fake characteristic. It could have some sort of shape shifting ability. You don't know. Maybe that's why it blends in and it disappears. Maybe it turned into something else. And if it is watching and it's trying to appeal to these children, and when did Pinocchio come out? That was in the 60s, right?
Yeah, that was an older one. I haven't
When
seen the new
was
ones. That was a
the
creepy ass movie, by the way.
It was creepy. Pinocchio was released in the 40s. Clowns are big for kids back in the day, so I can see if it is trying to portray something that these kids would not be afraid of. I can see it being a like fun-loving little clown. And then like, doing tricks to make them laugh. And it never says that they tried to get anything from them. Yeah, it invited them in the house, which is a little creepy, but there was no, it took samples or it did this or it never scared them. They were invited in and they were like, okay, like we don't feel threatened, obviously. So they went in. They're having a conversation with this thing for an hour and a half.
That I wish I knew what was talked about in that time.
It seems like it's a lot of questions about like, why are you this way? Why are you that way? What's this? What's that? Which are kids, they're going to be curious. That's just how they are. So that makes sense to me.
But to see what he asked them, I'd be curious about in that time.
Yeah, I wish that there were some more information on what he was asking the children, but it seemed like most of the questions were the kids asking him questions or it questions.
The perv.
Yeah. There is a possibility he was a creeper in the woods, but I think that honestly, with all the details, I would 100% go with Faye if it wasn't for the mysterious lights that the father saw like a month beforehand. Because it was lights, and then 3 weeks later, lights, and then this happened.
I'm telling you, last year I would have been like, I don't know. This year I'm just everything's real.
All right,
Everything's real.
we're getting on board. But yeah, so you got anything else that we want to add to it?
No. Oh, why do they always portray redheads as the crazy people?
Never said that he was crazy,
The
but I
creep in
do.
the woods.
But
And then in
again,
the
it's going off of you got to think this thing is made of primary colors. Typically, we've got blue
how did
gloves,
I
we got
not
a
put that
green
together?
tunic, we've got yellow eyes, we got a yellow hat. It is very bright primary colors,
I did
and
not even realize that.
mhm, and red is just one of those primary colors. So I'm wondering if that's why it was red. I mean, it very well could have been yellow hair and a red hat, but it just chose yellow hat with red hair. Hell, maybe it saw McDonald's. We don't know. Like,
It's a McDonald's commercial in Pinocchio and
I
just
mean, if you
meshed up.
think about it, it does make sense.
Did you ever see that Japanese McDonald's commercial?
No. All right, let's see here. So I'm going to go ahead. If we could share this, I'm going to share this on social media. So by the time you guys hear this, it's already going to be out there. So just go check it out. I'm going to post it. Oh my God, it is like breaking into the house. This is for real?
Yeah, those were the commercials for McDonald's.
All right, so we're going to go ahead. I'm going to see if I can post this. I'm going to add it to the story, so it probably won't be there though. Gosh dang it. Well, I added to the story. So if you guys are on social media, you guys would have seen it. That is freaking creepy as hell. I'm with you on that. But I guess we'll go ahead and wrap this one up. Don't forget to go check us out on social media. We're everywhere. We're on the TikTok, the Facebook, X, Instagram, you name it. We're out there. We're on all the listening platforms. So please spread the word. Right now, we're getting a little slow start. So if you guys could just let everybody know, make sure you share it with everybody on your social media, all that stuff, that'd be greatly appreciated. We do have some stuff. We have one episode out on the Patreon, as well as our video episodes that are coming out. So you'll be able to watch those. We'll be getting some more stuff on there. We're going to do some spirit box sessions coming up. We usually have a lot of activity. Things love talking to us. They've been talking to us all this episode. They like to interact and everything. So we're going to have some good stuff on there. So go check that out. Soon to be coming. We got to get it set up for the site. Miss Liz is going to have to help me with that if we're going to use CrowdMade. But we're going to have some merch going out, some designs on there. So check that out. And make sure if you guys have any requests, any input, anything like that, comment, do all of that. You can reach us at creepitweirdpodcast@gmail.com. Send your stories in. We would love to have a listener story episode at some point. That would be fantastic. But until next time, everybody, we'll see ya. And don't forget to creep it weird. Bye.
Bye.